I don't want to hear it about you don't like it when Jay wins everything, because you're the one that kept making me yeet on your stupid podcast with Chris every time I mentioned, and I said that things were negative. So I don't want to hear it. This is your fault, Dan.
Welcome to Left Turns, Red Hooks, episode number 22. I'm your host, Dan Lindsay. Thank you for joining us, and I am subtitling this week's episode as Tyler's therapy session. We had a ton of fun as we recorded this the night of the first round of the NBA draft. We talked a good amount of basketball and a lot of WWE as we went over the whole Night of Champions card. So that is what this episode is all about, wrestling only, a lot of fun. And as this drops onto your subscription list, Night of Champions is just a couple hours away. So without further ado, let's get to our picks. Please enjoy, let us know what you think, and come back and see how well we did after Night of Champions. It's time to welcome in Tyler, and we're talking wrestling. We sometimes love it. We sometimes really hate wrestling, and it's a wonderful thing that we love to hate to love, however you want to phrase that, but it's a wonderful thing. So it's fun when you have John Cena calling out Matt Cardona and Matt Cardona saying hi on camera a couple days later. It's not great when Jey Uso wins everything. So with that, it's great to welcome Tyler to the podcast here. We are going to talk Night of Champions. We are recording this middle of the week. As of this point, it doesn't sound like Night of Champions is moving location from Saudi Arabia. Whether you like that or don't like that, we're not here to discuss that. We're here to just discuss the matches. We're here to discuss wrestling. We're here just to talk wrestlers, talk to guys. We can dive into it. It is going to be there. Whether it should be or not, whole completely just different discussion that we will leave to other people. So we'll just get into it, into our matches. But Tyler, I really appreciate you coming on. We're going to be talking wrestling. Actually, a little bit of surprise for all our viewers, we're going to throw some basketball in here too, because we've had a lot of basketball news, and the NBA draft is actually occurring while we record too. So he's here with the Celtics hat. So wrestling aficionado, Celtics expert, I guess. Comes down to it, basketball know-it-all. Tyler, welcome to the show.
Basketball know-it-all. That's a heck of a Twitter tagline right there. First of all, thank you. I always love coming on the pod and chatting with you, whether it's wrestling, basketball, football, baseball, whatever it is. Love chatting with you. But second of all, I don't want to hear it about you don't like it when Jay wins everything, because you're the one that kept making me yeet on your stupid podcast with Chris every time I mentioned, and I said that things were negative. So I don't want to hear it. This is your fault, Dan. You're the one that wanted to keep yeeting and loved every second of it. And now, months later, maybe that wasn't such a good. Oh, really? It's not now. It's not a good idea. Interesting.
Tell me how you really feel, Tyler. Tell me how you really feel. Maybe I shouldn't have you on the podcast anymore.
There's no room on the duck boat now, Dan. Get off. I don't want it. We don't want it.
Oh, I love it. I love it. No, seriously. I don't know how much we'll actually get into that, but, there was... I'll probably mention this a little bit when we talk King of the Ring. Once he lost the title, which I know you were more ecstatic. I definitely know I was in the minority of I'm fine with Jay winning. I'm fine with Jay winning how he did. I'm not disappointed that he lost the title. I think he's fine losing the title. I don't think it needed to be a long reign, and I think it could have gotten very stale very quickly, the way things were going as well. So I'm glad it's back on Gunther, and I'm very, very glad, and I'll go into this more when we get to that topic, but I'm very, very glad he is not in the finals for King of the Ring. So, but so I will lead a little bit of crow. I'm going to probably lead a little crow a couple different times today. That's fine. I have no problem with that. We're here for our takes, and if we're wrong, we're wrong. If we're right, awesome. I'm usually wrong a lot of times, so that's okay. It is what it is. So, but we'll talk wrestling. We'll talk some basketball. A lot of WWE here. 6 matches on the Night of Champions card. Not the usual formula of 5, so very interesting. In the States, this can be an early PLE for you folks. So it's because it is in Saudi Arabia. But yeah, let's get into the matches. First match, I think we're just going to key this one up really easy, really quick. We're going to talk the men's United States Championship. And honestly, the first question that popped in my mind when I thought about this match, Tyler, for us to talk about, how many men will it take for Solo to have around him to take out Jacob Fatu?
What's that one song? 1,025,600 minutes. Whatever that song is, that's how many men. It's gonna be a lot of men. And it's like that. What was that viral argument? It was like a 1,000 men versus a gorilla or whatever.
100 men, yeah, something like that.
Yeah, Jacob Fatu was the gorilla, and I was always like, "Hey, do y'all know how like crazy a gorilla is? Like, it could sneeze and it'll blow your head off. Like, it's not gonna work out." Same thing with Jacob Fatu. Now, obviously, that's not how life works or how wrestling works, and I'm being a bit facetious, but yeah, I don't see. Obviously, I'm ultimately assuming that the reason you're asking this is because Solo by himself, solo, if you will, does not have much of a chance against Jacob Fatu, or at least shouldn't. But yeah, it's going to take quite a Herculean effort from our good buddy Mr. Sikoa to rip that title away.
Yeah, it is. I think we've talked about his character work. It's been fun. I thought actually Money in the Bank was really great with Solo. Like, he was just imitating everybody. I love that. I love that. I think he's, might be. I don't want to call him a lovable loser, but he's on the losing end for a good bit of 2025, which is fine. I think it worked for the story they're telling. I don't feel bad that he's losing here at all, or that we assume he's losing. But yeah, I'm with you. It's JC Mateo is not going to be enough. I don't think JC Mateo and even both Tungans, if they're healthy, which I'm pretty sure they're not yet, even those three with Hikuleo and even Lance and Anoa'i, that still wouldn't be enough for Jacob Fatu,
Right.
So, and especially if someone like Roman Reigns came back around. No, I don't think we're going to have him this match, but, I'm still, I got to work that in somewhere, I'm waiting for Roman to come back. But yeah, no, there's not going to be enough people on Solo's side to begin with, even with the people who are on his side healthy and possibly want to be on his side, still won't help against Jacob Fatu. So I think we're the direction we're going. Is picking Fatu as a winner here as obvious as it seems, do you think?
I mean, I think so. Certainly, I suppose there's a world where Solo may, bring forth Hikuleo and ambush Jacob Fatu and the combined might of the three of them, and maybe a return of Tama Tonga, who's also siding with Solo, surprises Jacob Fatu enough that Solo sneaks out of there. I suppose that is a possibility, but I find that pretty highly unlikely, and I really think that you'd be cutting Jacob off at the knees in what feels like his first real major feud. Where it's his feud, it's not the Bloodlines feud or Solo's feud, where it is purely Jacob Fatu's story. And I just feel like you'd be cutting him off at the knees. And plus, you've teased like Jacob Fatu versus Damian Priest, which, if you remember, Dan, was what I predicted would be Jacob Fatu's path right after WrestleMania. I thought that Damian Priest would be his first opponent. Not quite his first, but it does seem like it's going to be one of his first opponents. So, obviously, I feel like I was beating around the bush there a little. But you've teased matches like that, and then, I mean, Lord knows Hikuleo or JC Mateo or any of the other Tongans and Samoans and Hawaiians and Polynesians and all of them coming along.
Where's that bloodline graphic when we need it?
Yeah, exactly. Just The Rock. Who else? You never know, right? I feel like it would be a bit early to pull the trigger. Now, if it was a scenario where Jacob really took Solo out at Money in the Bank, where like he buried him in ladders and they said that Solo had serious injuries and he was out for 6 months, and then 6 months down the road Solo came back and took the title from him, that's a whole other story.
Yeah.
But this early, I don't see it.
No, this is definitely a push for the continued push for Jacob. And I wholeheartedly agree with you. This is his first this will be the launching pad for him to be out of the Bloodline story for a little while at least. They can always go back to it very easily. But yeah, no, I would be a little shocked if even the numbers game did catch up to Fatu. Again, it would take a lot of guys. And Fatu seemingly has Jimmy in his corner too. Not that Jimmy would be like the guy to really, really tip the scales because it's Jacob Fatu. But there, if there is something fishy going on, Jimmy's gonna be right there, I think too. So probably, most likely,
Right.
kind of thing. So
That's fair.
yeah, no, I think it's obvious. This is outside of. Yeah, this is probably the easily the most obvious. Kind of what we were talking about with the I think at Mania and other matches, that Fatu has defended the title. It's like, of course it's gonna be Fatu. Like, what else? I don't think he's lost in the main roster yet on televised. Or at least single competition, and he hasn't had a lot of singles competition. So, it's we should be good here with Fatu. So. So very obvious here. We will move on to the Queen of the Ring final. Our final is going to be Jade versus a returning Asuka, or returning a couple weeks ago, Auska. Very nice to see her back. All of a sudden, the women's division is mostly stacked. Obviously, sadly, we just lost Liv Morgan as a part of that, but we've got Bayley back. We've got Asuka back. So I mean, the women, and we've obviously had Stephanie, promoted, Roxanne promoted to the main roster. I thought we were going to get Jordynne Grace promoted to the main roster, but maybe that's coming after she gets through, the NXT stuff. I believe she just won the number one contendership. Contendership, can't talk. So, but I'm assuming we're eventually going to get Jordynne Grace. I think she was supposed to be SmackDown, but maybe not. So, well, that remains to be seen. But again, the women's roster looks really good. Right now we've got, even though we've lost Liv, we have added enough over the last few weeks. Didn't even mention Charlotte or Alexa Bliss. So I mean, we should be pretty well set, I feel, on the women's side for a lot of feuds, title, non-title, especially non-title. Hopefully we can get feuds that aren't centered around a title for the women's wrestling. But anyway, Queen of the Ring. Jade and Auska, are you kind of surprised at all by who the finalists are?
I'm not surprised by Jade. I was a bit surprised that they had Auska go this far already. I honestly thought that she just wouldn't have been pinned in the first round.
Mm-hmm.
Because I'm a big Stephanie person, right? Like,
right.
I feel like maybe they're not looking at her as highly as everybody on our end in NXT initially thought.
Mm-hmm.
Because they didn't pull the trigger Money in the Bank, didn't pull the trigger King of the Ring, doesn't really seem to have a story right now. So we'll see what happens there. But I was a bit surprised with Auska, I suppose, but only because I thought Stephanie would be the winner of this whole tournament.
Mm-hmm.
But since it's not Stephanie, looking at the rest of the field, it doesn't. If it wasn't Stephanie, then it doesn't surprise me that Auska is kind of where you're going here. Again, doesn't surprise me about Jade. I kind of looked at it as whoever won that fatal 4-way with Nia Jax and Jade in it was probably gonna go to the finals.
Right.
And obviously, when Jade won it, I was like, okay, she's going to the finals. Like that seems pretty reasonable to me. So in that way, I'm not surprised.
Yeah, no, I'm not either. From the Jade side, I'm with you there. I figured Jade or Nia, whoever's going to win that fatal 4-way. I thought maybe Rhea could maybe be in the final instead. I didn't think that'd be a bad spot for her. They obviously have a different direction we'll talk about with her a little bit, but I think outside of that, as like when that semifinal matchup ended up being Roxanne versus Jade, I was like, there's no way. There's no way they're gonna do that to Jade. There's no way they better do that to Jade. that was my line of thinking.
That's fair, yeah.
And I think the other side too. I'm a little surprised, like Charlotte or even Alexa Bliss isn't in the other side of the bracket. But I think if you take away Auska being a part of that, being returning, it was looking. I was kind of surprised too that they put kind of Stephanie and Auska in the same fatal 4-way. I would figure they'd put them separate so you could at least push Stephanie around out of the fatal 4-ways. I'm sure they'll have some stories soon. In a way, I kind of wish that the Intercontinental title was still on Lyra. I feel like you could slot Stephanie a lot easier into that feud. But maybe she'll still get inserted somehow so she can, she belongs with. She belongs in the upper echelon of the women's talent. no doubt.
Yeah.
I mean, she's wrestled all over already. She's got a proven product. So it's just a matter of time, and hopefully sooner than later, for her matter of time. Whether it's the main title or even just the Intercontinental title. Um, we with that being said, but hopefully we'll see Stephanie more often soon. She definitely deserves to be in those conversations. But yeah, not surprised by Jade, a little bit by Asuka. I feel like you could have gone a lot of different directions there, but I think with Asuka returning and that big of a deal, it's not a bad choice at all, but by any means.
Yeah.
But I'm kind of torn on who to pick for this match. So I'll give it back to you. And what's your pick for these two between these two?
Yeah, so my instinct is Jade because I feel like you really got to start paying off that investment.
Mm-hmm.
Asuka, to me, as much as I love Asuka, and there's nothing wrong with her being in this spot, I don't think she needs this. To me, like Asuka is Asuka no matter what she does, wins, loses, who she's in a story with, what she's going after, why. Like she's always going to have that aura about her, as the kids
Mm-hmm.
say now, aura, right? Um, that's like where you could slide her. I mean, if she went after the world title tomorrow with no story, we would believe it.
Yep.
Like it didn't matter how many times in a row she loses that she could do that. Now, if she loses a billion matches in a row and then goes after the world title, then obviously we'll probably be like, well, she's not going to win it. But we wouldn't be like, really, Asuka, out of
Right.
all the people, like it's Asuka, like of course,
Yeah.
right? So, but to me, I think you need to start paying off the Jade investment. You made it, a year plus ago. She's had her moments. She was written off TV for a long time. They really seem to believe in her, and fans really seem to believe in her. So I feel like you're probably getting Jade here. But I could obviously see the argument for Asuka because for me, Jade is going to probably face Tiffany Stratton. And I don't really see a world where that turns out well for both of them. Either Jade goes over and Tiffany loses, and that's not super great for Tiffany, or Jade loses, maybe she gets cost by somebody. I don't know. Like you got to make a lot of leaps to kind of make some kind of sense. Whereas Asuka, I mean, you can again slide her in anywhere and it will make sense. And
Mm-hmm.
it's gonna be a good match, a good feud. Does not matter to me. So my instinct is Jade, but if you were to sit here and give me all the reasons why you thought Asuka was gonna win, I'm not going to probably disagree with any of them because honestly, you could take either one of these ladies and whatever feud they're going to go into is probably going to be really good and really fun.
Well, I am proceeding with caution on this one because I'm going with Asuka here. Because I
Okay.
feel I feel we're gonna get Naomi involved here. I think she's not quite over Jade yet. So I feel like and she has the money in the bank. So I feel it's she's gonna be involved somehow. So I feel like she can get involved here, cost Jade the match. You have a feud. You have a feud there, and you can have Asuka Io, no problem. Like you're saying, insert Asuka into have a picture, no problem. You could also have Jade win, still put Asuka in the title picture with Io. Maybe a little, stretch that story out a little bit longer. And then, Jade does get her opportunity at SummerSlam against Tiffany. And then Naomi either interferes and fails a cash in, or she does actually cash in, or she makes it a triple threat and cashes in, or whatever. I think people want that cash in for triple threat a little too much just because of the Seth Rollins amazing cash in triple threat, with Rock and not Rock, good grief, Roman and Brock. But that's from kind of like that's from us why I'm iffy. It's like where do you and Naomi's lurking. She's gonna lurk somewhere. She's either gonna lurk here or lurk in the match at SummerSlam. And I feel like you go with either, but so my instincts, I feel you do have to do this with Jade though. I think more kind of with what you're saying with the investment. I don't think if you do it the right way and have a non and you have her lose in a non clean fashion, like by involving Naomi, um, with in Jade versus Tiffany there. I think you don't really hurt Jade's credibility because she won a Queen of the Ring. Whereas I feel like that could maybe damage long term if you have her not win Queen of the Ring, because then it's like, well, okay, she feuds with Naomi again, which isn't bad, but I feel like it'd be more meaningful for honestly both Naomi and Jade for Naomi to be involved at SummerSlam than at Crown Jewel. So I think I'm going to actually lean Jade, but with you 100% really here. You can talk me into either for a lot of reasons, storylines. Naomi, however you want to spin it. I feel you could do a few different ways here, but I think ultimately this should go to Jade. Asuka losing, unless she goes on to lose, like you said, a lot of matches in a row. This can't really hurt Asuka. Kind of like we haven't hurt Alexa or Charlotte for losing or not really doing well in some of the opportunities they've had. They're who they are. They're the veteran leaders of the locker room for the women's side. So they're not really going to be hurt by too many losses. So I guess we're on the same page here for Jade winning Queen of the Ring.
Yeah, I mean, although I will say something you said did spark an idea in my head that actually made change my answer. I did not really put two and two together that Io Sky is the women's world champion right now, and if Asuka wins, she would be fighting Io Sky at SummerSlam, which obviously Damage Control. Like, I kind of also want to see that.
Yeah.
So I like to avoid all the Jade weirdness and to have Naomi. Like, I think it makes sense. So I actually might change my answer here. Because I think the pieces fit a little bit more together with Auska now that you've kind of said that, which is funny because you changed your answer to Jay. We're just flip flopping all over here.
But I mean, I think this is one of the harder matches to kind of pick on this card, honestly. Yeah. And again, so many reasons for both. Yeah, because I mean, I don't believe Damage Control is really a thing anymore, especially since they go Dakota Kai. So I think that makes this feud that would make that feud easier. I'm sick with Jade.
Fair enough.
But
yeah, I'm gonna change my answer. And when I said Damage Control, I meant like because they were in Damage Control.
Yeah,
and then it just kind of wasn't. Like at a certain point, like there was no blow off or turning on anybody. They just stopped it.
Yep.
And so it's kind of like, yeah. Then all of a sudden they look at each other, and I'm intrigued to see like where they go with it. Like, is there jealousy? Do they still love each other? Do they, does Asuka like just say no? I hate you now. Like, is it like what's gonna happen? So I'm intrigued by that. So I actually think I will go with Asuka.
Yeah, and I don't feel like if Jade were to lose this too, her losing to someone like Asuka, I mean, good for her. You got to do a match with Asuka, and if you can hold your own with Asuka, I mean, that can do, I feel like we're past the days of WWE where it's like losses can detrimentally hurt you. I think it's now more of, okay, are you piling up the losses? Okay, well, are you piling up the losses in a JD McDonough fashion, or are you piling up the losses against everybody?
Yeah,
you know what I mean?
Yeah.
So I feel like if it's a clean win for Asuka, I honestly probably have no problem with that. But I'm gonna go with Jade. I'm not changing here.
Fair enough. I'm with you. I got you.
All right, so I'll take Jade. We'll take Asuka. Let's move on to the other women's match on the card. The street fight that got announced Monday Night on Raw with Rhea just storming into the office of Adam Pearce, and Adam Pearce is like, yeah, of course, let's do it. Let's make it official. That is the key word. Official. Thank you, Adam Pearce, I guess. Street fight between Rhea Ripley and Raquel Rodriguez. I have a feeling this wasn't probably exactly planned for Night of Champions, so I'm guessing this is like a pseudo replacement for the no longer on the card Intercontinental title match that Dominic Mysterio is going to be in. So I don't know what your thoughts are there on like this being like a last second replacement match, I guess.
I mean, I have no idea. It probably is. I mean, that does kind of make sense. I just have a bone to pick really with just the Night of Champions concept in general, because if you remember, Dan, I did Clash of Champions in October in my booking. And I made it in Tokyo. I made it 2 nights so that everybody got a match and they all could, like, 6 matches a night, or 6 or 7 matches a night. There were 3-4 hour events in Tokyo. It was this grand, beautiful, like production, right? And this Night of Champions has 6 total matches and only 2 of them have championships on the line. And it's like, what are we doing? Like, I get that you would have had 3 because obviously Dominic would have defended his title, but
still, to your point,
that's not their fault. But still, you have 12 championships.
Yep.
Like, where are the tag championships? Where are any of the women's championships? Like, what are we doing? Like, so I have a bone to pick with that, but that's for that's a whole separate.
I mean, I have no problem, honestly, going down that rabbit hole, though, too, because you're right. You hear Night of Champions, it's like, why aren't all these title matches, or because I was listening, I forget whose pile I was listening to, if it was Van Vliet's or Sam Roberts, but King of the Ring and Queen of the Ring, Queen of the Ring, they used to be its own PLE, and everybody in the field, you would have to qualify to get on the PLE, and then the winner of King of the Ring would have 3 matches in one night, and that was very impressive. I was like, oh yeah, I kind of forgot about how they used to do that. So, I don't mind that we're doing essentially number 1 contender matches, just not called that, but number 1 contender matches for a title on a PLE. But yeah, the fact that only 2 other matches are championships. I do know the Friday night before we are getting a U.S. title match with the women's U.S. title match with Julia and who holds it?
Vega.
Yes, thank you, Zelina Vega. Wow, that's how memorable this run is for her.
Whoop, 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 whoop. You don't remember that's her theme song? It says her name and then says whoop a bunch of times.
Anyway, I know we're getting that match, and I'm pretty sure, honestly, I think we're getting the women's title match between Tiffany and Nia the Friday night as well on SmackDown. So, it's like, and I think, and we are getting the SmackDown tag match. So they're basically making it a Night of Champions weekend, I guess, if we want to really try to give them that credit, because they're doing...
Then why do they not call it Weekend of Champions? Don't call it night. Call it Weekend of Champions. That's actually a pretty fun idea. They could so easily market that. You could say, we used to do Night of Champions, but we're so big, it's just too big for one night. So now, welcome to Weekend of Champions. With the Night of Champions pay-per-view being in the middle, but have all of those in the middle be championship matches, and then all the other you can't fit all 13 or however many friggin' championships there are on one night.
Yeah.
So you could do 5 or 6 on that night, and then you could splatter the rest throughout the other 3 nights.
Yeah. No, yeah, because like I said, nights. We got the SmackDown tag titles because it's Street Profits versus Wyatt 6. Then you got, like I said, Nia and Tiffany, and you have Zelina and good grief, I am not doing well on my names tonight. Julia, good grief.
Dan, get some help.
I need it. I'm trying. I've been. It's not working apparently. And then I know Monday night is gonna be on New Day versus Judgment Day for the Raw tag titles. So
it's just. By the way, remember how a month ago we talked super in depth about how the Wyatt 6 should just not go after any championships whatsoever, and then they're immediately going after a championship. I'm not coming back.
I think that was the podcast that we recorded, but didn't come out great audio and didn't actually make it there. So.
Oh, is that what it was?
I think that was that one. I think. I'm pretty sure. Yeah. Possibly.
But still, we did have that conversation.
We had the conversation.
I've also had that same conversation with Chris, pretty in depth.
Yep.
And we're both in agreement, they shouldn't go after any championships because it just doesn't make sense character-wise. And then they're immediately going after championships upon coming back with 2 matches. And I'm like, bro, please, why? I just don't think, what are we doing? Are we hell-bent on making all the same mistakes that we've made in the past?
Apparently.
I'm gonna lose it.
Vince is
So your question,
still
late
pulling
edition,
strings somehow or
playing
another.
all along. What?
Vince is still somehow pulling strings here and there.
His son is.
Some of them.
So
Anyway,
God.
back to the street fight. we it's back on topic here. But I wholeheartedly agree with you on everything. It should be a weekend of champions. Let's do this. Street fight, Rhea or Raquel. Who do you pick here? Is this another easy pick like we had with Jacob Fatu, or is it not?
No, I don't think it is a easy pick. I could very easily see Raquel going over. I don't. Nothing that I've seen in this feud strikes me as Rhea's going to use Raquel as a stepping stone to get elsewhere. This seems to me like it's going to be a feud for a hot minute. I mean, this is not a final babyface conquers all type feel. Could be wrong, obviously, but sure, Rhea could certainly win. But I don't think this is a lock that Rhea is going to win this match. I could very easily see Roxanne Perez costing Rhea Ripley. And then, maybe a third person comes in and I mean, Finn and JD and all of them are probably on board now because Liv's gone.
Yeah.
And like and so Finn's probably like, cool, I just didn't like Liv, so I'll just go and help them. Like, I could very easily see Rhea not winning this match, to be honest.
Yeah. No, I'm honestly the same. I think this is a street fights invite shenanigans, right? That's just what it invites. So to me, that just says immediately, Rhea's gonna look really good, but she's not gonna win because Raquel's gonna have Roxanne and maybe even others help her, but for sure Roxanne. And so I feel like it should be Rhea to win this because it's Rhea Ripley, but it probably won't be Rhea because you got Raquel and Roxanne. Which, that's a mouthful if you say that really fast, Raquel and Roxanne. Just throw that out there.
It definitely is. And here's the thing. I might be way off base here for what people would have wanted, but if you were going to put another woman in Judgment Day and have it be like somebody that's trying to replace Liv, why would it not be Stephanie? To me, like, that just fits way better. Like, if you're going to tell a story where this woman is here and she's kind of like Finn sees something in her that he doesn't see in Liv and he's trying to get Liv out, like, and also kind of weirdly, like, maybe Roxanne's trying to steal Dom, like, Stephanie would kind of make sense, wouldn't she? More than Roxanne, in my opinion, because she's already got that like dark, moody type of gimmick with the La Primera and the demon horns and all that stuff, and she doesn't have a whole lot of facial expressions, so she's very kind of like, but she's also like Chilean, so she has a really unique accent and a unique sound. So I could also see that play well if you're trying to do something weirdly romantic and like that kind of charming Dom a little bit because he's not used to that. Like, I could very easily see that, but like Roxanne, it's been working somewhat so far, and that hasn't been bad. Just to me, like, if you were going to do that, Stephanie would have made more sense because, like, also I could very easily see like Liv being super jealous of Stephanie and her ability and the way she sounds and the way she looks and everything. I could very easily see that, but like Roxanne, no offense to Roxanne, but like, kind of what does she have that Liv doesn't
have?
Like, it's just odd to me. She's more devious, that's for sure. Like, Roxanne is way more like snake oil salesman, conniving heel, like, for sure, 100%.
Right.
Like, she fits a lot more in the I'm gonna steal your tag team partner story, but not the boyfriend and then I'm gonna get you kicked out of Judgment Day and Liv's gonna be jealous of me. Like, that's I don't know. That's just me. Maybe I'm way off base, but that's just how I.
It seemed a little odd from the beginning, and I think we had a discussion. This was a discussion that we had that we didn't quite make the channel. But yeah, I think we kind of discussed, like, it seemed like Judgment Day was inevitably going to split 3 and 3 or something like that, and Now with Liv being out for 3-4 months, most likely it sounds like, if not more, but which is crazy. So
Yeah, it really
unfortunate for
sucks.
her, honestly. Just she obviously loves doing this stuff, so that's just crazy. Um, but yeah, so like it seems like we're going from an inevitable split to now. Well, I guess they're gonna keep them together somehow, and it kind of works. But yeah, now that you bring that up, that is intriguing to think about how the charming aspect. If you're trying to keep the romantic angle, how much more you could throw Stephanie in there than Roxanne. Yeah, it's very interesting. But yeah, street fight. I guess we got. I guess we got Raquel winning thanks to Roxanne. Not saying that Raquel couldn't beat Rhea straight up. Because I feel like size wise she can actually kind of match Rhea for a lot of ways, but true one on one with their characters and stories as is right now, that'd be hard to believe. So again, that's why you have street fight. That way we can get Raquel over here. So which may not be a bad thing. All along. So let's shift back to the men's side. We have another surprise addition to this card, and thank you, thank you, thank you, Triple H, for finally giving us a match. It's about time. TikTok, the time is up. Karrion Kross, Sami Zayn. This is excellent. We pretty much got this match between these two teased a couple weeks ago on Raw when Sami was in the semifinal for King of the Ring, and Sami was like, "When I'm done, coming for you." Well, he got done a little bit sooner than he probably thought he was going to be, and so sooner or later is now. And we now get this match on Night of Champions, what I think is great. Not only do we get this match between these two, we get it on a PLE in front of a big crowd. And I couldn't be happy for a guy like Karrion. He was a dark horse pick for many. For me, I think you even mentioned it as a possibility for Money in the Bank before we knew all the qualifiers. So I'm very happy that we have this match for Karrion Kross on this card. What are your thoughts here?
Yeah, certainly happy for him. You know me, I've been on the Karrion Kross train for years, man.
Yep.
Like this is a long time coming, and even I had to admit for a little bit there, I was worried. I was like, man, maybe he just is not as good as I thought he was. I mean, when he showed up in NXT and was just given that entrance and that undefeated streak, and I just I was like, that's going to be a guy. It's going to be a problem, right? Like you could just feel it. Didn't work. He got released. He was called up in like the worst possible way ever, and then got released, and then now he's back. And second time didn't work. They put him in a group, didn't work.
Mm-hmm.
Changed his
Put him
music,
in another
changed.
group.
Put him in another group, didn't work. Right, like just all this stuff, and I'm like, I mean, maybe everybody's right. Maybe he is just a boring wrestler that can't figure out a way to connect with the audience. And then right when I was ready to call it quits, he found a way. He turned it around, and now he's arguably the most requested wrestler that you can find on the internet. And it is hysterical to me when I hear people like, "Oh, I'll always love Karrion, bro. I can go back 2 years and I can pull up all your tweets about how much you hate this guy and how boring he is." You will not find one Karrion Kross sucks, boring, he's awful, he should be released tweet from me, because I never once felt that way. So trust me, I am very happy that this is happening to Karrion Kross. There's very few wrestlers that I would want to be in the spot that he is now. And man, I just hope that they take advantage of it, because if you do, you have a weapon on your hands, a guy that can really make things look real, that can make things hurt, that has a phenomenal entrance, that could be world champion caliber if it gets that far. I'm not saying he's ready to be world champion right now, because he's not. But I'm just saying, if you play your cards right and you tell your right stories, you could get there, and it will be very believable, and you'll have a whole new top star in Karrion Kross. At the very least, a guy who you can have on the undercard that is a very, very difficult ask for any babyface to beat.
Yeah.
Like, at the very least. So I'm happy for Karrion. Love Sami, always have. I'm interested to see where this goes with Sami. Does this get to where it's a full Sami heel turn and like not a crappy one this time where he has horrible music that everyone hates? Does he form a tag team with Karrion Kross and then go after the tag titles? Does he beat Karrion eventually and then go after, and that propels him to the world title scene on SmackDown? Like, and then now or does he turn heel and go to SmackDown and you got Cody Rhodes or John Cena versus Sami Zayn, like whoever it is, right? Or does he turn on Jay and now you got Jay versus Sami? Like, I'm so intrigued to see where this goes. Or maybe it's just a straight up one-on-one match and all of Karrion Kross's mind games are getting in my head like he wants to. So we will see. But I'm very excited to see where this goes. Happy to see him get a match. And I would not be surprised if he's got the biggest pop of the gosh dang weekend as Karrion Kross. I'm telling you, he's gonna be great when he comes out.
It's gonna be big. Yeah, no, I started following Karrion at the end of his NXT run, very end, where I think he had just he held both the NXT men's and NXT North American titles at once, correct?
No. So Keith Lee was the one that held them both.
Right.
Keith Lee then gave away the North American title and then lost in his first title defense for the NXT title to Karrion Kross.
Okay, maybe that's what it was. Because I remember kind of following them both right near their end of their NXT runs, and I probably just crossing some of the matches that they had. But yeah, just like his entrance.
Crossed up.
Totally did that. Yeah, totally did that on purpose.
They're on to me.
Darn it. Saw near the NXT run for both those gentlemen that you just mentioned, and was really intrigued by Karrion's entrance. Kind of mystified, kind of like weirded out, but very like, what's going on here?
Yeah.
Liked him in the ring, thought he was good on the mics. It's the whole act with Scarlett, just adds to that, because she gets right in there with him and stuff. And then yeah, we won't spend a lot of time on this because we won't go down a rabbit hole. We all know what happened on Raw with him when he was called up. Didn't work out. Horrible. Thank you, Vince. Probably one of the last nails in the coffin for Vince, honestly, I'm guessing. Lost him, got him back. Even, it's been a weird road for him. And I'm hoping this means that he actually has a long-term contract with WWE too. Because I
hope so too.
I feel like there was talks about maybe he was going to have a contract. It was going to end up, and who knows what was going to happen. But he's obviously, the fans have really rallied behind him. I feel like it's an evidence of, not that nobody listens to the fans, but it's another example of, Triple H really does listen to the fans, and it took a little bit, but he finally got us there. And again, I think with no IC title match, I feel like this was easier to put on this card than maybe put on Raw. That might be why I got bumped up to Night of Champions. Not sure, who knows. But yeah, no, I think it's excellent. It's excellent to see this again. Excellent that's a PLE as well. On top of it, not just Raw Netflix, but on a PLE. Yeah, it's fun. I'm excited for this. This is one of the harder ones for me to pick again. This falls. I feel like there's a couple matches that are fairly straightforward to pick to throw out a person, and then there's a couple matches where it's like, man, this could go 20 different ways. For both characters. This could be a one-off. We might not see him wrestle again. I love the thought that you actually threw out there of this turns into a tag team somehow. That would be excellent for both, and then they can turn back on each other again and have another match. Yeah, so can you pick a winner here?
Oh, yeah, I think I can. And now certainly there is an argument to be made in the other direction, and I'll go over it a little bit, but I'm picking Karrion here. I think you got lightning in a bottle if you play your cards right. And that's not to say that if he loses this match, he's dead in the water, because he certainly isn't. I think he's so popular right now that you could spin it to where he wanted Sami to win. where it was all a part of his game, right? I mean, you can make the story whatever you want, and fans will probably eat it up. But I think Karrion should win this match. I think he should prove to, like, it's the first chink in the good guy armor of Sami, where Sami's like, oh my god, I can't even beat Karrion Kross, like, and I have all of Saudi Arabia behind me, like, this is not good. Like, I really might be in trouble here. Maybe he's not as crazy as he sounds, or more accurately, like, no, he's not right. No, nope. And then things just keep happening, and maybe that's the story. So I'm taking Karrion here. Again, not to say that if he loses, he's dead in the water, but I just feel like he should be going over here, in my opinion.
Yeah, I agree. I feel like you don't put this on the card to not give Karrion the win here. Again, I feel like you could spin you said it perfectly. I won't regurgitate everything. But yeah, there's ways you can spin this to be like, oh yeah, I didn't mind losing, or I'm fine. I'm good. But
yeah,
I feel
I have him right where I want him.
Yeah. He's right in the palm of my hands, right here. No problem. I got you. And then he goes after AJ Styles again. But no, yeah, I feel if you're gonna put this on the card, I feel like it's you have to take advantage of letting him win here, unless you have some kind of crazy wild non-finish or something. But I feel that would be almost even worse. I think you gotta win here for Karrion. Sami looks good no matter what. Everybody loves Sami. Well, most everybody.
Yeah, almost everybody.
Sorry. But a majority of people love Sami, win or lose. People rally behind Sami very easily. So yeah, I'm going with Karrion here. And we still got 2 matches to talk to. So unless you have another thought or two, I'm gonna move us on to the King of the Ring final. And boy, oh boy, I'm actually a little. I'm gonna pull the matchups up here while I'm talking, but I'm a little surprised by the King of the Ring results here. Excuse
really?
me. Well, a little. I'm not surprised Cody's there. I think I kind of wish they wouldn't have given that blank slot to the loser of the Gunther J match. I mean, that's such a bad cop out. And then that's where I was afraid of. Really, are they going to have Jay win? Once that was announced, are they going to have Jay win through all of this? And we're getting another match between these two. We've had 5 title matches between the IC title and the world heavyweight title between them, right? It's 5 or 4 title matches.
5 or 6.
5, yeah, it might even be 6. I think it's 5. And Jay's been victorious in 1 between the 2 titles. Like, okay, to me, that's where my breaking point finally happened. I'm like, no. Don't, because then it's going to be one weird verbal battle after another again for another 2 months between these two, which, goodness, that's going to basically take up half our year of just these two feuding. No, thank you. Give them both different things. I don't exactly like that it's Gunther Goldberg, but we'll talk about that another time. But that's what I was really afraid of there. That was my breaking point for Jay. I like Jay. I still am behind him. It's one of those where I get why they did what they did. While I know majority of people are like, oh my word, seriously? I didn't mind it, just from my perspective, and I get that. I know in the morning, whatever. So I was really hoping, but when he was in that fatal 4-way, it's like, well, they're probably not going to give it to Reed. But I was like, that's actually kind of cool to see Reed, and in that, because I mean, we knew wasn't be roots for Sheamus. Obviously Cody and his fatal 4-way, it's Priest, Andrade, and Nakamura. It's like Priest maybe, but yeah, we all knew that was gonna be Cody there. In a funny, I thought it actually would have been funny if the final would have been Breaker versus Braun, or Bronson Reed. I thought that would have been a hilarious way to go. I was hoping, Penta or Braun Breaker would have come out of that fatal 4-way. I would say I'm a little surprised Orton came out of his bracket when you see LA Knight and Aleister Black there too, especially. I'm like, man, what a great spot to push up Aleister Black. So They didn't. I think that's fine. We're getting some really good showcase matches with him, as he's starting to get back into WWE and SmackDown.
Mm.
Um, so I think at the end of the day, I'm relieved as my for this final. I'm a little surprised they didn't pull the trigger with Jay, but I don't think I realized with the bracket at the time that would have meant Jay versus Cody. So when that match, I was like, "There's no way." I was texting Chris the other night too. I'm like, "There's no way they actually pull the trigger on Jay here." Dude. It's like, really, they better not. Like I would have, especially over Cody, especially. It's like, and I don't know if you watched Raw from Monday or not, because I know you were busy all day Tuesday. But like the fact that for once for a match for Jey Uso that Jey Uso wasn't the last person to come out. That was like I literally texted Chris. I'm like, well, I guess there is at least one person in the industry that doesn't get an entrance before Jay. It's Cody Rhodes.
Yep.
So like that alone means Cody's gonna win this, hopefully. But I think we were both still like tepid.
That's probably a good good indicator.
I was like, okay, again, not it's I still like Jay. I like what he does. I think he's one of those great hype crowd people, and the product in the ring is fine for me. I get why it's not for a lot of people. I know we all have our different people that we like and stuff, but it goes back to what you've said a lot. Horses, and it's like there's no way you're gonna put Cody over Jay. There's no way you're gonna go back to another Gunther Jay. And we're not going there, so I'm very happy about that. I don't. What are your thoughts on this being the final overall?
All right, here we go. So
brace yourself, everybody.
No, I'm not surprised at all that this is the final. So barring the surprise entrant, empty slot, right? So assuming that there was not going to be any crazy shenanigans going on with that. When I looked at the bracket, the first thing I said to my wife was, "Oh, they're doing Cody and Randy at Night of Champions." That was the first thing I said, because to me, Aleister Black, Carmelo Hayes, LA Knight, great, no problem. Carmelo's already in a story, Aleister Black's already in a story, and LA Knight is already in a story. Randy's not in a story. So there you go. Like to me, it was like, that's why I should have known the Sami thing as well, because all the rest of them were in a story. I didn't think logically. I saw Braun Breaker in a match and went, Braun Breaker's gonna win. Like that, it just my caveman brain came out for a minute. But I should have known, right? Yeah, it's just Breaker. That's how it should have gone. But that's not what obviously happened, and it just makes sense. Like Sami, I guess he was in a story with Karrion, but he wasn't in a physical story with Karrion, so it's not like Karrion was going to come out and cost him the match or anything. It just made sense. And then obviously the follow-up made sense. So that was a little bit shocking. But then, going back to what you said, there was a lot. So again, for those of you who do not know, I'm a volunteer in NXT. I work NXT just about every single week. I feel like I have a pretty decent sized role in terms of what we do within that. So I have a lot of people that I have a privilege of getting to talk to, and I even get to talk to some of the wrestlers sometimes about these stories on the main roster that they're enjoying, that are a little lower on the card. So it's not like I'm talking to Obafemi about Randy Orton or something. I'm not. I'm just
cool.
some of the lesser known wrestlers that you guys either have. So we bounce these things back and forth, and the students now bounce these things back and forth. A lot of people were like, man, Ilya Dragunov versus Gunther at SummerSlam sounds real good right about now, right? Like, and we were just like, we were really hoping that mystery person would be Ilya Dragunov, and it would be this big triumphant comeback, and then we all got yeeted right in the nuts. So because they announced it on freaking social media, so there was no surprise. And to me, the surprise entrance is the best thing about wrestling. Like, forget the Cody finishing the stories and the year plus long title reigns, or the Roman Reigns 4-year title reigns, or the Kofi Manias and all that. Forget all that. Surprise entrance at the Royal Rumble, or surprise returns that we're not expecting. The pops of those surprise returns are the best part of wrestling. And one, you took that away by announcing it was Jay. And two, it was Jay. And I'm glad that you said what you said, because the words you used were, and that was the point for me.
Yep.
When you realized, oh, wait, this is getting out of hand now. I said that it was going to get out of hand months ago.
You did.
I'm like,
you warned us.
This is going to go out of hand. This is not going to go well. It's going to start to get annoying. It's going to start to not make sense. And here we go. So I'm like, oh, God, Jay, really?
You're right.
Of course it's Jay. Why would it not be Jay? Because everything's Jay. Hey, would you like someone fun to win the Royal Rumble? Yeet. Would be the world champion and beat Gunther at WrestleMania? Yeet. Would you like somebody fun to be in the King of the Ring? Yeet. Would you like some fun at all? Yeet. Like, that's all we get. Like, it's just we just get Jay. If you like other things, that's too bad. You get Jay. That's how it felt to me in January. That's how it feels now. It just is what it is. So that's my rant on that. But
how good is that to get out?
Feels great. I've been holding that in for a while because, just so you guys know at home, probably at least 2 or 3 different podcasts that Dan and I have done, Dan has had to say to me, we are not talking about Jey Uso, so don't even get started.
I had purposely...
Because he knows that I'm just boiling like a teapot on the... Like, I'm ready to explode for months on end, and I'm just like, okay.
Purposely put in certain questions so you wouldn't talk about it.
Yeah, exactly. So it does feel good to get a little bit of it out. And I have so many more thoughts, but I won't kill you. But when they did announce it was Jay, I went, okay, now I have a whole new problem. Which is, if Jay wins King of the Ring, I genuinely am probably not going to watch wrestling for a minute. Because if Triple H gets to the point where he's like, you know what would make a lot of money? Jay versus Gunther at SummerSlam. After Jay versus Gunther at on Monday Night Raw. And after Jay versus Gunther at SummerSlam. And after Jay versus Gunther at Saturday Night's Main Event. And the other show. And the other show. And all the other shows that they were wrestling on. And it's just like, hey, no. How about no? How about none of that, please? Like, it was just going to get to the point where now we're getting to lunacy. Now we are only caring about how much merch someone sells, only caring about crowd reaction in the moment at that time and no other factors. Like, I understand those are important, but that's not the only factor, because to me, you also have to play into account, all right, if this person is world champion or if this person is in a main event spot, how much more popular is he going to get versus if he's not? I swear to you, if Jey Uso was in a 9-month-long feud with J.D. McDonough, he would be just as popular as he is right now. Nothing would change. So why would you have to keep giving him the main event spots when other people could use it more? So to me, I'm just knocking things over here. So to me, I was like, if he wins, I'm going to be like, okay, they just don't care. They just don't care about any other thing. They just like the fact that he sells a lot of t-shirts. That's what they're looking at. And that crowds like him. And by the way, I didn't text this to you, but during that Gunther match, I don't know if you noticed that his entrance coming out, a lot less people cheering, a lot less loud than it usually was. And I'm like, I think there's some antsy people that are that are here right now that are like, if they don't play this right, this could really hurt. This could really hurt. Like, we'll see what happened. But to me, they made the very right call to put it back on Gunther. You and I actually had this in-depth conversation, Dan. I don't know if you remember. I asked you, if they go one-on-one again and there's no shenanigans, who's the guy that needs to win? And we both agreed that it needed to be Gunther. And so since the match had no shenanigans, they made the right call that Gunther went over. And thank God, because guess what? Jay is 0% less popular than he was as world champion. And if Gunther had lost, he would have been a billion times less believable. And it just would have been so harmful. But anyway, I'll get back to your question. I'm done now, I promise.
No, you're fine. So, but honestly, to touch on that, though, I'll give you a second to breathe, too, here. To touch on that, though, and it sounds like it was kind of the plan. It was kind of the plan to get us back into Gunther anyway. And a guy like Jay, like you said, and I wish I kind of would have put this together a lot sooner. Then I think it would have been a little bit easier to kind of get through some of this stuff, But and it makes sense that if you're gonna have Goldberg come after Gunther, like why not have why not have the title on him? Or if he's gonna just come after the title, he gotta make it Gunther, not freaking Jey Uso.
Yeah.
So both sides there. So I mean, so this seemed like this was the plan. And I again, the popularity, I hadn't really thought about that either to that perspective. It doesn't matter Jay has a title or not. He's gonna be popular. He's gonna yeet the crowd. He's gonna, he's gonna get hyped the crowd no matter what. He's gonna come out of the tunnel. He's gonna, the crowd are gonna be cheering him. Kids are gonna love him. They're gonna want to be held by him. They're gonna want to eat right alongside with him. But he doesn't have to have a title. So
yeah, he doesn't need
it. So I'm hopeful. I don't know. I'm curious to kind of see where he kind of actually goes now. And everything there. Maybe, I'll save a bloodline thought for another time. But yeah, the call is right, and I think for
I agree.
Whomever, which also, I just had another thought too. That I wish I should have looked at that bracket a lot closer too, and realized, like you said, of course we're going Cody Randy here. Because we've been wanting Cody Randy ever since Cody came back and Randy was healthy again. We've been wanting this. And we'll talk about that a little bit here too, but this leaves Gunther open for any and all challengers from now until SummerSlam. So maybe we still do get Ilya at SummerSlam.
Maybe
because
you do.
Both these guys,
who knows?
Both these guys are both SmackDown guys fighting for King of the Ring. So getting back to it. So, but yeah. So all that said too, I'm with you. Taking off that sidetrack. I don't want to take anything that you had said. I left this very open ended for the both of us on the surprising of this final. So I want to let you get back to your thoughts on this matchup here.
Yeah, and I think the thing that bothers me, and I guess I haven't been able to put it into this perspective and these exact words, especially since you kept telling me not to for so long. But there's the thing that bothered me. Again, we're gonna rewind back to the Royal Rumble, and I know I kept saying like you could have had so many other guys win it, and you chose to have Jay instead of any of those other really awesome people that would have had really awesome matches. The problem to me was the matches that you have cost us because you continue to go with Jay is starting to pile up, and I think people are starting to realize it. And I think for you, and maybe I'm wrong, so please correct me if I'm way off base here. When you saw this King of the Ring landscape and you thought, oh my goodness, you know what would be okay, so I'm seeing it. Cody wins King of the Ring. Cody challenges John Cena at SummerSlam. Maybe Cody beats Cena at SummerSlam. Now Cena can maybe go back to being a good guy eventually, and we get the last few months of Cena as a good guy, and it's all triumphant and awesome and wonderful, and this is great. And then we get Cody back, and then Cody can wrestle Drew McIntyre, and he can wrestle Randy as a bad guy and get all these amazing matches. And then, oh my goodness, wait, Ilya might be that last guy. Maybe Ilya faces Gunther at SummerSlam, or maybe we just get him down the road, and Gunther could be, world champion, and he could fight Seth, and he could fight Braun Breaker, and you're thinking all these hypotheticals, and then you saw Jay, and you went, okay, wait, and how about instead, this is from Triple H now. I hear all that. I hear all that awesomeness. It's great. How about instead of Cody versus Cena at SummerSlam, we give you Jay versus Gunther? Oh, actually, you know what? Instead of CM Punk versus Cody Rhodes at WrestleMania, how about we give you Jay versus Gunther? Oh, actually, instead of any of the matches you want, how about we give you Jey Uso and Gunther? Or Jey Uso and insert person here. And then after so long of that, you're like, oh no, like I get it now. Like that now we're getting to the point where this is ridiculous. Like, again, I might be way off base here, but is that kind of accurate for you?
That's essentially where I was going. It was like I could stomach Jay winning the Rumble because I was like, to me that was a catalyst for Cena. Just another tip of that was like the tip of the iceberg for Cena going villain to have the moments that you had at Chamber with him. I was fine with Jay winning at Mania. I wish the sleeper hold would have been in longer to kind of help Gunther out a little bit, But yeah, it was when that surprise entrance could have literally been anybody. NXT call up, Ricky Saints, Ethan Page, Obafemi, whomever you want. Insert NXT
Von
wrestler.
Evans. Yeah, anybody.
CM Punk, like you said, Ilya, numerous people. And then it was Jay. I was like, that means he's going to win this. And I was like, no, that cannot happen. That can't happen. We just took the title off. He shouldn't get another chance, even through a tournament, because, like I said, I was just like, that means we're just going to get the weird build that we had from Rumble to Mania with Jay and Gunther all over again from after Night of Champions to SummerSlam. And it's like, no, please. So I was very happy. And again, I didn't even look at the Cody part too, but I was like, and like I said, I was just like, boy, I mean, they could put Jay over here. They could pull that trigger. Cody is probably that good of a good guy to let him do that. But I was like, oh boy, that will not go well with the fan base as a whole. I think if people had to choose between the two, people would probably choose Cody over Jay because a lot of the fans like both. But given a choice, I think they would revolt if it would have been Jay.
Agreed. And to get to who is winning this match between Randy and Cody, right?
Mm-hmm.
Let me put it to you this way. Randy's own mother, father, children, and wife are not picking Randy Orton to win. Okay? Nobody is picking Randy Orton to win this match. Randy isn't picking Randy to win this match. Like, Randy's going in knowing, I got it. I'll look at the lights. Like, that. There is not, barring Cody Rhodes blowing out both his knees in the match.
Don't put that in ether.
Not going over.
Don't put that in ether.
There you go. Knocking on the wood over here. I got some wooden bats behind me. I'll knock on those later. But there is almost no scenario in which Randy Orton is winning this match. To me, that is the easiest pick of all of these. I don't know. I don't know if there's even 0.1% of the wrestling fandom population that's picking Randy.
I would say there's a 5% chance of Randy winning this. I'm not going to give him a 0%.
Well, it would be the wrong call. It would make no sense.
It would be the wrong call. It should be Cody, Cena at SummerSlam. If Randy wants his rematch, he can figure out another way to get to it. He's going to have to climb through Punk probably. We'll get to that in a second. But yeah, no, Cody is the right call here. They're making the right calls lately, the last few weeks, month.
Mm-hmm.
And this will be another one of the right calls in a row. Because if they don't, again, the fan base might like both, but it's Cody Rhodes.
Agreed. Cody for the win, baby. Let's go.
What I'm curious to see what happens, though, is do these two find a way back to each other in more matches over the next few months? Yes. Or do we not see them hook up again in a match until after SummerSlam or after, whatever. That's where I'm curious. That's where I think, that's what I'm very intrigued by here. Are we planting the seeds for a future feud that we want, that we've all been waiting for? Or is this going to, in a way I kind of wish this wasn't the King of the Ring final. I wish this was more of a, hey, you get the chance to get the title now, or a stepping stone. I don't know. I don't mind that it's the King of the Ring final by any means. I'm not saying that, but it's kind of like not within starting the feud, but then Cody going right after Cena. It's like we're either gonna get a really short run of these two for the next couple months in the interim between Cena and Cody, or we're not going to pick this up until, well, at least after SummerSlam. And I don't want to wait till after SummerSlam for these two, even though it's only 2 months away. I don't want to wait till after SummerSlam to see another match between these two, because this is going to tear down the house.
Yeah, I mean, fair enough. I don't know. I really have no idea what they're gonna do. To me, again, I think the Cody thing is such an easy call because you can have. I mean, obviously they're still friends, right? They still love each other. They've said it on TV recently that they love each other. I mean, that's where we're at. So Cody can go over. Randy could shake his hand in the end, but the seed is planted because now Cody has directly gotten in the Viper's way and cost Randy something, which is another chance at John, which is what he made very clear that is desperately what he wants.
Right.
And yeah, for a little while he could pretend, that he's his friend, and then he slithers up on him and he turns on him at some point once Cody has the belt back.
And
okay, if I can't take it from Cena, I'm just gonna take it from you.
Exactly.
And there
exactly what you just said there. That's the logical storyline here because he has said he wants that 15th championship. He eventually wants to be the guy that passed Cena's record. I think he's even said, but I'm not saying that's going to happen. But I agree with you. He's going to be like, I don't care who I got to face. I want number 15.
And to me, man, if that doesn't sound like a WrestleMania main event, like I don't know what does. Like Viper, ultra bad guy with Triple H in charge, who knows Randy Orton and Randy Orton's character quite literally better than any other person outside of Randy Orton himself walking planet Earth. Like all of the Viper tendencies and clips that we remember as from when we were kids in our heads were against two people. John Cena and Triple H. Those were the two that we remember. We remember, yes, the I Quit match with Randy where he handcuffs Cena to the ring post and just hits him with kendo sticks and beats him up and tears him apart, and Cena's crying and screaming, and like we remember that. But we also remember Randy Orton punt kicking Vince and punt kicking Shane and DDTing Stephanie and kissing her on the ground while Triple H watches and he's handcuffed to the ropes and he can't stop him. And then hitting him with a sledgehammer. Like, we remember all of that. That's what real Randy Orton is. Or not real. I'm not saying literally the guy is like that. Yeah, he does that to his own kids every Friday. Like, no, obviously not. But like
not at all.
If Triple H can give Randy permission to be that guy again, and he's facing Cody Rhodes, who was his protege, who is the QB of the industry and is the most beloved person that maybe I've ever seen in wrestling at this point. So popular that I'll say it again. John Cena and The Rock turned heel to face him. It's like that to me, if that's not a WrestleMania main event, I don't know what is. Could they find something better? Sure. But if that's where this story ends up, you will not find a single complaint here with me. Unless, of course, God forbid, he beats Jade to get there. I mean, we can't have that. We cannot have anybody beating our precious Yeet Master getting anywhere. Okay, I'm done. That's my last one, I promise.
Yeah, I'm sure there's one more in there somewhere. We all know that Cody feuds are 3 matches. We all know this. We're gonna get the third between him and Cena at SummerSlam, and we're gonna get the first here this weekend with the Weekend of Champions, as we are dubbing it. This is. I think this could easily, this in the main event, and this, I don't expect this to be the main event, but man, it very well could. It would be the main event anywhere, any other time if it wasn't for our next match. Our next match, the men's Undisputed Title, John Cena, CM Punk. Wow. And I have to intro this by saying I was not watching wrestling at the height of CM Punk. I think I've said this before. And I missed a decent early part of a lot of Cena's early run. I remember more Cena for like a little, 2015, 16, especially the AJ Styles stuff and the US Open Title Challenge. And man, this is gonna. As the house isn't torn down already, they're gonna take care of the rest of it in this match. I don't know how you feel. I'm excited for this match. How you got to be ecstatic about this match.
Of course. I mean, anybody who was watching wrestling in 2011 is this is what we've wanted. I mean, we wanted one more big CM Punk John Cena match of some kind. And I know in my booking I said, do you really need a build for CM Punk John Cena? No, you don't. But man, am I glad we got one, because this has single-handedly made people forget just how putrid the John Cena final year has been up to this point, because it just has been putrid. And R-Truth coming back really has helped because it has made the story more intriguing. However, this whole CM Punk thing has turned it around, where they did the faux pipe bomb with CM Punk laying in a broken table like Cena was when Punk dropped his, and doing all the stuff and saying all the stuff that CM Punk did, basically to say, dude, you were never that good. Like, I can do everything that you can do way better. You are not the best in the world. I'm the best in the world. And it's just like, it was beautiful. It was as perfect as you could get. I loved every, and I mean, I even love that Punk is self-aware enough to let WWE use the fact that he has said a lot of critiques about WWE going to Saudi Arabia in the past, and now he's kind of going to Saudi and doing everything that he said he hated. And look, here's how I look at it, because I'm sure that there are people that genuinely think that this is offensive or that don't like that CM Punk is doing this. CM Punk said those things years ago, okay? And I'm sure at the time he felt that way. But he now works for WWE, and I'm pretty sure that it wasn't in his contract that he didn't have to go to Saudi. And also, what happened in real life, or what happened on the screen, is not what happens in real life. I don't know if anybody's aware, but like, matches don't just like randomly get made on the broadcast. Like, they just kind of like are planned behind the scenes for like weeks, months in advance usually. So I'm pretty sure that if CM Punk really had a problem, like hardcore was like, you know what? You guys know how I feel about wrestling in Saudi. You know I don't want that paycheck. It doesn't matter to me or my family. You know how I believe what I believe. I'm not doing it. They probably wouldn't have done it. They probably would have been okay with, hey, you know, it's CM Punk versus John Cena. We could do that anytime. Let's move it to Australia in a couple of months. Whatever. It's fine. Like, it would have been fine. We could have done something else. But obviously, Punk agreed to do this. And to me, great. Like, just because he said something years ago, said he believed it, doesn't mean that he has to do everything that he said from years ago now.
Yep. He's allowed to
I'm
change his mind.
Things that I've said years ago that you're like, do you still believe that Pete Rose is the worst human being in the world? I never said that, but like, I'm just pulling out, like, because obviously he just got reinstated into baseball. Do you still believe that Pete Rose should be banned? So would you go to the commissioner's office and tell him to reban Pete Rose because that's what you said when you were 12? No, I wouldn't do that. I don't believe that anymore. Like, I have more information now. So anyway, so I did want to address that. Anybody who keeps calling CM Punk legitimately a hypocrite, knock it off. He can do what he wants. He's a grown man. You can like it, you can not like it, whatever. But obviously, he wasn't blindsided and forced to do this. He made his own choice. Second of all, again, this is single-handedly turning this entire John Cena year around for me. The thing that I am starting to worry about, though, is this heel run for Cena outside of this Punk stuff has been quite lackluster. And to me, if you were going to turn Cena before he goes, unless you're turning him the millisecond he goes, like the last night he's in the company, he's like, I was wrong, I'm sorry, and now I'm leaving. Like, unless you're doing that, you got to kind of start planting seeds at this point. Like, I haven't seen a whole lot of seeds. You could have planted seeds with R-Truth. You could have had...
There is some. There is some.
But he immediately attacked Jay like 1 second later, as if it like none of what R-Truth did mattered, right? So
but
it was
it's still there.
Maybe it is. It's a bit sloppy in terms of that right now. It's not clear. It's not really identifiable. So to me, I'm getting a little worried on that front. If you're planning on not turning him babyface, then we got to start doing better stuff with his character outside of what he's doing with Punk. Because what he's doing with Punk speaks for itself. That is a unique situation that is not, it's going to be beautiful because it's Punk and Cena. But you can't just throw John Cena in there with anybody as a heel with the character that he has right now and expect everything to be amazing. Because everything else before this has not been great. You put him in there with Cody, and a lot of people didn't like it. You put him in there with Randy, and a lot of people didn't like it. You put him in there with Truth, a lot of people didn't like it. You put him in there with Punk, and everybody liked it. Oh, well, obviously. But you're 1 for 4. So that's not a good percentage for the rest of the 6 months that you've got left. And what's he at? 15 appearances left, by the way?
Yeah,
So
it's not much. They're
appearances.
essentially, we're not going to see him for 10 weeks, I think, if I've done the math correctly. There's going to be 10-week stretch where we're not just going to see him.
You've got 15 for sure. You've got 15 appearances at this point to have him finish the heel stuff, start planting seeds, real seeds, identifiable seeds that Cena's going to turn back, then have a few moments where the seeds tend to grow, then do the moment where he fully turns back, then have, I would hope, a couple of months of good guy Cena again. You're running out of time to do all that, to make it all make sense and have it not be sloppy and rushed and kind of haphazard.
Yeah.
So I'm getting worried about that. But you know what? This feud has been so good, I'm willing to actually forgo all of those thoughts in the back of my horrible head. I'm willing to just enjoy what's in front of me right now because that is how good this feud has been. And I'm going to say this once, and I'm not going to say it again because Joe is our resident CM Punk expert, and I'm sure you've had him on a few times, and I know we all talk about it enough. The fact that CM Punk is just this good and this popular, if that man does not win a world title at some point in the next year, there's going to start being some problems, right? Like, we're going to, like, if you're going to keep picking Jay over Punk or Seth over Punk or anybody over Punk at a certain point to win that world title, we're going to start getting to the point where it's going to be ludicrous. And this feud, the Drew feud, everything that Punk has touched up to this point is proving.
Yep. No, 100%. It's a point to where I wish I would have been watching wrestling in 2010, 2011, 2012. You know, I miss that. I'm sad I missed that. I can go back and watch it stuff, obviously, but it's this is great. This is going to be so much fun. That pipe bomb was, wow. I was shocked they went there. It was very well done, I felt.
Imagine the shock when Punk did it the first
I know
time.
that's what I'm just like, man.
We were all like crapping our pants. Like, they cut off his mic and they cut the broadcast. They didn't even do the signature at the end. Like, oh my God, was that supposed to happen? Did he just go for himself? I mean, 13-year-old me was like, just like, oh my God, this is the coolest thing ever. You know, rebellious teenager. Yeah, CM Punk, CM Punk, CM Punk. I hate John Cena, right? Like, it was just, it was beautiful. And so this time we all got the joke, but we were all in it for the ride, man.
Yep. And I mean, I feel like as vicious as the Randy Cena feud was in their prime, I feel like these two are almost the better foils for each other in a sense. And then maybe I'm wrong there, but that's the sense I actually really get to, where it's like they're both, their mindset to be the best is very similar. They just, are taking opposite paths, and those paths have switched now versus 2011, where it wasn't 2011, it's switched on in 2025, which is insanely cool. And I think I've either said this on the pod or just to use off air, but the fact that we are calling back to so many things from between 2010 and 2014, we're calling back to so many things, whether it's been Roman or Heyman or Punk or Rollins or Seth or I just said Seth and Rollins as well. I can but you get my point. Whether it's been again Cena or Punk or Randy or Seth, Bloodline, Roman, Heyman, all of this. It's like so much just started then, and it's kind of like a fun little, really cool bookend to some very interesting things. Not intentionally. I don't think they're trying to be like, oh, hey, we're closing stuff that was open in that time. I'm not trying to say that, but it's really cool to see them being like, hey, this happened. And especially, I think, to the assumed countless thousands of new fans that WWE has, it's like, hey, go back and take a look at what this was 10, 12 years ago, and you'll enjoy what's even going on even more with these guys. I know I am, and that's where a lot of my enjoyment comes here. And this match is just, wow, like I said, if there's anything left to tear down, they're going to finish it off. But I have a bad feeling about all this at the end, and I gotta ask you, is Cena going to ruin wrestling yet again?
If that's your way of asking that if Cena's going to win this match, I think there's no doubt in my mind he's certainly going to win this match. I don't see a world where Punk wins. I mean, first of all, Punk's not really on SmackDown, so that's kind of awkward. I don't really think that he would just move permanently to SmackDown to be champion. And then, I mean, would I love to see Cody Rhodes versus CM Punk for the WWE Championship at SummerSlam? Oh, yeah. But the story is already there with Cena, and it just, again, would I complain? No, not even a little bit. I would not. No. Nobody would, exactly. Well, Cena might, but other than that,
yeah.
Yeah, he's fine. He's already got 17. He'll figure it out. But yeah. Now, if Cena, to me, I think Cena might ruin wrestling in terms of like it will probably mirror Money in the Bank 2011, where like somebody comes out to help Cena, or to even maybe to help Punk. Like R-Truth comes out to help Punk. Punk clocks R-Truth and says, nah, man, we're not doing it like this. He goes back in the ring. Cena takes advantage, leaves through the crowd, blows him a kiss, and leaves, just like Punk did in 2011 when Laurinaitis tried to screw Cena, or screw Punk. Cena stopped him from screwing Punk. Punk won. Oh no, Punk's leaving the company, right? Like I think that's probably where you're gonna go at this point based on the story. So does that ruin wrestling? No,
not really.
Parodies are good memories and replaces them with worse memories because, oh, well, it's exactly like the good thing, but now sad. So like that's, to me, that would probably be the way it would go, in my opinion.
Yeah. No, I don't have that well thought of an idea. That's very wouldn't shock me at all if that happened. I don't see. I'll put it this way. I feel there's a better chance for CM Punk to beat Cody to beat Cena than there is for Randy to beat Cody. But they're both still really small.
Yeah. One is 1%, the other's 1.5. Like it's not.
I was gonna say 5 and 10, but yeah, sure.
Whatever, same difference. That's it. Same ratio, 1.5 to 1 and 10 to 15. It's the same ratio. You just say that there's a 10 times likelier chance that one of those guys wins. So that's fine with me, man.
I'm always glass mostly full, not empty. That's our yin and yang over here.
Yep, that's us. You know us. Just good old yin and good old yang. Well, which one's yin and which one's yang? You're wearing the dark shirt, so I feel like you have to be yang.
I guess I don't know enough about yin and yang.
I don't know either, man. One of them is supposed to be like sun, and one of them is the moon. I don't know which one of us is more broody.
You. But I have my days. I have my days.
I guess I'm Yang. There you go. I am. Hello. I am Yang. I am Tyler. I am Chad. I'm a man of many names.
El Grande Americano.
That guy's got shoulder surgery, man. That really sucks.
That's just Chad. That's just Chad.
Crazy. I don't know what you're talking about. Chad Gable's having the same exact surgery too.
That's wild. I mean, oh man.
They must have gotten into one. My theory is they got into like an unbelievable Mexican arm wrestling match, and they were both so equally powerful that they just both blew out each other's shoulders. And then now they both have to go get surgery. I think that's my theory. I don't know about you.
Sure. Let's go for it. All right, thanks again for joining us on this week's podcast. As we talked out of Champions card. Appreciate Tyler coming on. We got some more content with him coming up fairly soon. We'll talk some basketball, a lot of off-season moves, so we will get right into that in just a couple of days. You will see that on this channel once again. So again, thank you for sticking around, watching. We went through our entire card for Night Champions. Come back and let us know if we were good, if we were wrong. Please leave comments. Please give the video a like. Share it with your wrestling friends or friends that you want to get into wrestling. And subscribe to this channel goes a long way. So please help us out, and we will see you next time.